Yes, Prabhu, we are live. I'm going to Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for your time and giving your time to ISKCON Naperville. I know you are our world resident of Naperville. Thank you for coming back for this lecture. We really appreciate your time. So, little bit introduction about Sundarananda Prabhu. He used to be our congregation member, book distribution. So I'm just going to give some introduction about a little thing about so many things about him, but we're just going to give very little thing, whatever we know about him. So Sundarananda Prabhu has been practicing Krishna consciousness since 2004. Prabhu, we joined both at the same time. Haribol. He has served for several years as an active book distributor in ISKCON Washington DC, Baltimore, and Naperville. He currently serves as a congregation development director in ISKCON Baltimore. He loves to read Srila Prabhupada books systematically, facilitates a few reading groups, and enthuses spiritual practitioners in reading and distributing Srila Prabhupada books. He is an IT architect by profession and lives in Baltimore with his family. Those who know Sundarananda Prabhu appreciate his unassumingly humble mood, gentle speech, and caring personality. So Prabhu is, I know Prabhu personally also, and he is very good in managing book distribution. He plans. He's an architect by nature, so he architects how to do book distribution amazingly. So we're going to hear from Prabhu today on summary of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. So Prabhu, please, you can start the presentation if you have one. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Pandran Gopal Prabhu. Yeah, for Hare Krishna. Okay, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. Please forgive me. I'll just speak from Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, so first of all, I'm thankful for the opportunity and also thankful for all of you to make your time so that we can discuss Bhagavad Gita today. And please pray that we all can please Krishna together through this endeavor for the next 45 minutes. And Krishna is pleased and we all go one step closer towards him. Thank you, devotees. So my obeisance to all of you. Vanchakalpatarubhesha, Kupasindu Bhavacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namah. We'll offer a praise to our Acharyas, Prishmaster and Acharyas, and then we'll start our discussion. Om Vijnanatimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Yeah, thank you once again for joining our discussion today. It's nice to see some of my friends and some of my seniors also on the call. Please bless me that I can speak something of value for all of us. So I'm very excited the topic to prepare for the topic more than speaking on the topic. And the topic is chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, Transcendental Knowledge. It's a wonderful chapter, wonderful topic. I gained so much by preparing, and also is a wonderful practical thing for all of us in our life. So we'll go through some of the things. Since we have only short time, now close to 40 minutes only we have. But what I wanted to do is I'll share briefly overview of the whole chapter with the flow in mind, what you learned until now. And then I'll leave some time for the reflections and also any points that somebody wants to add, or also if there are any corrections so that everyone understands it properly, please feel free to share after the session. And then also you can we can discuss any questions. Even if I do not know, other devotees, my seniors also can answer. So we'll do. So first of all, I was very happy to see that you are doing these sessions, like 16, the Bhagavad Gita overview sessions, 18 sessions. It's a very nice thing, because in my reading also, what I noticed is when I understand the overview of whatever I'm reading, and also when I understand some flow and it makes some logical sense on how it's going through, then I can absorb I can be more comfortable to dive into the details. So you're fortunate that you're all discussing at overview and flow level of Bhagavad Gita first. That enables some of you to go dive deeper also into the Bhagavad Gita. So that's a very nice thing. Please utilize this opportunity. If you did not hear it, previous sessions by any chance, please hear from YouTube channel for Naperville. So then you will appreciate entire Bhagavad Gita flow nicely. So I'll give you some connection from the context wise, how this chapter 4 starts. And then we'll go into some of the details of chapter 4. Not every detail. Prabhupada wrote some beautiful purpose in this chapter. So many points, but we'll touch on some of them only. Yeah, and also utilize many of you might know, there's a wonderful devotee called Sutapa Das. He prepared a short overview of Bhagavad Gita based on Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita. It's called Gita Live. It is there on schoolofbhakti.com website. It's free download, but I will also use some of that also, along with Prabhupada purports and what I learned from my mentor and speech master and other senior devotees. So let's go through. So basically, if you recollect, Bhagavad Gita is obviously a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And in the chapter 1, Arjuna expresses several doubts in fighting the war. Should he fight the war? Why not? Like that. He expresses several doubts we heard. In a sense, Arjuna was bewildered. We hear from our acharyas that Krishna put Arjuna in that condition for our benefit. So nevertheless, in this condition, Arjuna was bewildered. He had lots of doubts. So there is one observation from first chapter. And then after that, in second chapter, he surrenders to Krishna and accepting as Guru. So that's a very important milestone that happens in second chapter. And then Krishna gives a knowledge of the entire Bhagavad Gita in a summary fashion. So that also we see in the second chapter. And then after giving the knowledge in the summary fashion, the third chapter we hear Arjuna asking the doubt whether, because Arjuna had this, Arjuna wants to clarify something, where it's better to not fight, because is it not fight and stay, like renunciate, like giving up work, or it's better to work like that. So then Krishna beautifully explains that chapter in the third chapter, previous chapter. I'm not going into full details, considering the time. So he basically gives in Arjuna the knowledge of how you need to work to purify yourselves. And basically he talks about different levels. One is, let us say you're already not purified. Then it's important for you to do prescribed duties so that you can purify yourselves. And then next he says, later in this chapter, he says, let us say you're already purified, but still to set an example for others, still you need to do your duties so that others can seeing and will help them like that. So that's a very high level. And then in that connection, he describes work with devotion also in one section. And then that means working with full knowledge. That's the best way to work, he describes. That's one thing, let's remember. And towards the end of the chapter, Krishna also describes how we have one enemy, lust. That is what causes material bondage for us. In fact, this is in response to Arjuna's question, which is very common for most of us also, which is, I know what is the right thing to do, but somehow I'm not able to get the strength to do it, the right thing, even though I know the right thing, like that. We all know that. So Arjuna has expressed that doubt. That's a good student to a teacher or a guru. So whenever we have any doubts, we ask the guru to clarify. Because if you don't clarify, our progress is very slow. But if we clarify our doubts, then we can progress very quickly in spiritual life. So if you think that I will be seen as a fool by others if I ask a doubt, then we'll remain a fool forever. But then if you ask the doubt and become fool before 50 people, then for that 5 minutes when you're asking the question only, when I'm asking the question, then I'm fool. Afterwards, because I'm getting the knowledge from Guru, which is the right knowledge, then I can become wise. So Arjuna places that question, and in answering that question, Krishna explains how lust is enemy, where is lust there in the body, and then what are the bad effects of the lust, including how it will cause material bondage, and then what is the solution for covering the lust also he describes. Because a good teacher not only explains the problems that we have or helps us identify the problems we have, but also explains the solution. What is the solution for us to get out of the problem? So in Bhagavad Gita is also the same. It not only helps us to identify the problems in our life, the difficulties in our life, but also helps us deal through the difficulties in our life in a proper way, in a proper spiritual perspective, not just only material perspective, but spiritual perspective, to get a permanent solution. So Krishna, in essence, gives the solution in two ways, how to conquer the lust. One is regulating the senses, he describes. Second is by sharpening the intelligence by using of spiritual intelligence. So these are the two things he describes. Now, this chapter connects directly to that. So those two aspects that we discussed. One is this chapter is titled Transcendental Knowledge. So Krishna is giving the knowledge, transcendental knowledge, that helps us to develop that spiritual intelligence so that we can conquer the lust. That's one thing. Second thing, Krishna is also equipping us in this chapter to understand about Krishna. So when we are working in full knowledge. Okay, those are the essence of the whole chapter purpose, the connection from the previous chapter as given by our acharyas. So basically, to develop transcendental knowledge so that we can develop spiritual intelligence, so that we can conquer lust, and then we can work in full knowledge, which is working with devotion. Those are two aspects that are covered in the chapter, very high level. So now, having understood the background of this chapter, so let me introduce the acronym that Sutapa Prabhu uses in his Gita Life short book. The acronym he uses is called EARS, like the ear with which we hear, EARS, ears. So I'll explain the acronym, and then I will go into each of the acronym section, and then we'll go through some of the key points in some of the verses also, referring to Prabhupada purports. So one is first EARS. In that acronym, E stands for eternal education. So next, that is covers the first 10 verses. Next is EARS, right? Next, second letter is A. A stands for accurate understanding. What is the right understanding? Okay. Then R is for removing reactions. Then S is for sacrifice. So there are different ways we can divide up the chapter. I chose to do this thing because we have a short time, and will give a quick overview and a nice overview and appreciation also. That's why I chose to use this instead of the regular 5-section approach that some other our acharyas give also. So now we'll dive into each of them individually. First section is EARS, right? EARS, E, eternal education. Eternal education, not temporary education, eternal education. So, but before that, the chapter title is Transcendental Knowledge, right? What does Transcendental Knowledge means? Transcendental Knowledge means knowledge that helps us to develop our relationship with God or Krishna. That is Transcendental Knowledge means. Of course, Transcendental word itself means the knowledge. Transcendental word means something beyond the three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance that we know. Something beyond that is transcendental. But in this connection, transcendental knowledge means knowledge that helps us to connect with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Now back to the first section, eternal education. Krishna glorifies the transcendental knowledge in the first few verses. So he basically first starts to tell how this knowledge is not something that he is telling for the first time now. He has told this long time ago. even at the beginning of creation. So this knowledge is coming from the Supreme Lord himself, right at the beginning of creation. This is like an instruction manual. Like when we buy something, we get an instruction manual with it so we can follow. Similarly, when Krishna created this whole universe, material creation, he provided this knowledge also for us so that we can understand the purpose of this material world, the function of the material world, and work properly. So sometimes we hear the term called Sambandha Gnana also. That's very much connected to this topic also. Sambandha Gnana means the knowledge of us as a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna and servant of Krishna, and the knowledge of Supreme Lord and our relationship between us, and knowledge of the material world and relationship of Supreme Lord with the material world also. This is Sambandha Gnana. So this transcendental knowledge, he says that he personally explained to sun god Vivaswan, and then who explained it to his son Manu. In fact, we are in the same Manvantara called Vivaswata Manvantara. And then who explained it to Ikshvaku, who is one of the ancestors of our Lord Rama. So because the Lord Rama came in the Surya dynasty, which we hear Vivaswan is the occupying the Surya post, sun god post currently in the Vivaswata Manvantara. So he describes that he already told that knowledge before, and then he describes this knowledge, what is the right way this knowledge gets propagated. The right way this knowledge gets propagated is through parampara or disciple successions. So that's the important thing for us to understand also as spiritual practitioners, because generally the tendency is, I want to know about Krishna, so I can hear anywhere, from anywhere, read from anywhere, whoever is telling me about Krishna. That's a general tendency. But Krishna is describing, we should hear from parampara or disciple succession. What does the disciple succession means? Disciple succession means the Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, gives the knowledge to the next teacher, who will give to the knowledge to the teacher, like that. It comes on, knowledge comes on without any alterations. So in this correction, Krishna explains that knowledge got altered. The original purpose is no more preserved. That is why Krishna is personally making an appearance and helping us to understand the right knowledge by speaking to Arjuna again. So I mentioned this is important for us as practitioners, right? So we hear about there are 4 proper disciple successions that are there, starting from Krishna himself. We hear about Sri Sampradaya, that is coming from Lakshmi Devi, and then Brahma Sampradaya, that's coming from Lord Brahma. In fact, our Sampradaya is coming from Lord Brahma. Ours is called Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Sri Prabhupada is our founder Acharya for ISKCON. And then next is from Lord Shiva. So through Lord Shiva is coming, it's called Rudra Sampradaya. And then next is called Kumara Sampradaya. So these are 4 prominent Sampradayas. So when we are trying to get transcendental knowledge, we should go to a teacher who is bona fide, who has a guru himself, not something that he recognized yesterday morning when he woke up, he got some knowledge, not like that. Something he has learned from his own guru, who is coming in this line of disciple succession. That's one main principle I want to mention. So now, that's the Parampara Principle. Now, after hearing the Parampara Principle, Arjuna asked a doubt, how come you were just contemporary to me? How come you told to Sun God, who is there so many years ago? And then he asked submissively. Then Krishna explains in return to that about his own nature and why does he appear and what is the benefit of knowing him, what is the benefit of understanding him, he explains. So Krishna explains that he is different from ordinary conditioned jiva like us. We have a material body, we are a spirit soul inside this gross material body and a subtle material body. But for Krishna, there's no separate external body and soul. There are no 2 entities like that. His body is also spiritual, unlike our material body currently. So he explains that, and he also explains the point how we, because of this material body, when we are transmigrating after death to another body, we have a forgetfulness also. We cannot remember the past lives. Of course, there are exceptions always. That's also done for a purpose. So, but that's very, very rare. In general cases, we don't remember the past life. Even if you remember one life, we'll not remember the previous life before that, like that, right? But unlike that, he is transcendental, is beyond the modes. Modes don't affect him. So he gives that knowledge in the few verses. And then he describes, why does he come? He comes to establish religion. He comes to, we hear this very famous verse, right? Paritranaya sadhuna, vinashaya cha dushkutam, dharma samsthapanarthaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. So he explains how the purpose of coming is to annihilate the miscreants, to protect the devotees, to establish the religion. So now somebody may ask, anybody else can do it, his devotees can do it, why does Krishna has to come personally? That's also Krishna addresses. Basically, this is one of the key things that comes is Krishna loves us. Krishna wants us to come back to him. Krishna wants us to be eternally happy. So he comes for our sake to perform his pastimes, to attract all of us. And also he wants to personally offer his protection to his devotees, not like somebody takes care of protection of devotees. So those are the main reasons Krishna comes. So then next, and then he describes when somebody properly knows, then what is the result of that? When somebody knows properly Krishna's nature like this, transcendental nature like this, we love Krishna. In fact, that is a test for us as devotees also. How much attraction I'm getting? If my attraction is not developing, that means I don't understand Krishna sufficiently enough. So then I hear more from Krishna and Krishna's devotees in Parampara, and I read scriptures. Then I will understand Krishna more, Krishna's form, so that I will be attracted to him, Krishna's qualities, how compassionate he is to devotees, how he protects his devotees, how he is so loving to devotees. So these all we can learn from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the benefit of transcendental knowledge. So then we will develop attraction to him. When we have attraction for something, then we are internally motivated, not externally motivated. We are internally motivated to strive for that. So it's not like 1 or 0. Our attraction grows as we continue practicing devotional service. That's the beauty of devotional service, wherein everything is interconnected and we naturally grow in devotional service as long as we follow sincerely with the guidance of a mentor and a spiritual master. So now that is the first section. Next section, Krishna talks about, remember the acronym is EARS, E for eternal education. Now we go to the next one. Next one is called accurate understanding. So accurate understanding, in this section, Krishna describes a few misconceptions commonly people have, and he debunks them. What is one of the misconception is about how, is about how people think all paths lead to the same goal. For example, this is a big topic, but because we do not have time, I'm just mentioning it. So basically, the question might come up, how come there are so many gods, so many demigods like that? Krishna describes, I'm mentioning it in brief, Krishna describes that there's only one God, that is himself, Supreme Lord. There are many assistants he has, demigods. Sorry. And then, so why do people worship demigods? People who are not so intelligent, who do not have full knowledge, they have material desires and they want to quickly get some material results. Then they approach the demigods, Krishna explains. Of course, in later chapters, Krishna explains how that worship is improper. Avidhi Purvakam he mentions later chapters. But for this chapter, he mentions like this. So now, we also know from Srimad Bhagavatam that Akama Sarva Kama Moksha Kama Udardi. So in that verse is described in second canto that whether we have no material desires, whether we have all material desires, doesn't matter. We can still approach Krishna. What is the benefit of approaching Krishna? Krishna not only fulfills our material desires, but he also takes away the impurity that wants to enjoy that material desire. So that impurity piece, classic example, is Dhruva Maharaj that we hear about in Srimad Bhagavatam. Dhruva Maharaj had a material desire, but he approached a bona fide spiritual master, Narada Muni, who guided him properly. So that way, and when he approached Krishna with that material desire, with the guidance of his spiritual master, his material desire was purified from the heart. Finally, when Supreme Lord appears before him, he said, "I'm so sorry. I somehow I was asking for glass instead of when we have a diamond before me." Like that, he was asking. That means he didn't have any enjoyment mentality anymore. But other side, you can notice also. Other side is Krishna took away that impurity, but Krishna still gave him the kingdom what he wanted. So that is the benefit of worshipping Krishna. So we're not losing on a long-term basis when you worship Krishna. Whereas when you worship demigod, we might gain in a short term. We'll get some short-term benefit because demigods only can give material benefit that is temporary. But then we're suffering on the long-term benefit. So that's what we need to keep in mind. So that means if you worship demigods, you go to demigods. If you worship Krishna, you go to Krishna. So the goal, if you do both paths don't lead to the same goal. Krishna is clarifying in this section. So another thing Krishna clarifying in this section is what is the caste system about? So it's also a big topic, but I will mention it. So generally, many people are concerned and worried that Brahmanas who are higher class of society, they exploited and manipulated the lower class of society. That's how everything is messed up like that. But Krishna describes what is the right criteria for those castes. And so we hear one of the famous verses, Chaturvadhyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha Tasya Kartaram Abhimam Vidhi Akartaram Abhyayam. So Krishna describes this caste system is not based on who I'm born to, not who is based on my father or mother like that. It's based on Guna and Karma. What is that? Guna means qualities, Karma means activities. This Guna can mean two different things. One is like normal qualities that we have in terms of character. Like Brahmana is one who is very truthful, clean, austere, like that. And then Kshatriya is one who is valorous, very brave, doesn't go away from battle. And then Vaishya is someone who has a mentality to earn money and who can take care of agriculture and cow production. And the Sudra is the one who is attitude is of service and is very clean, like that. That is one way of understanding the guna or qualities. Another way of understanding guna is by the modes of nature. For example, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, Brahmana is predominantly in mode of goodness. Kshatriya is predominantly in mode of passion. Vaishya is a mixture of passion and ignorance. And then Sudra is predominantly ignorance, like the Prabhupada describes in the purport. So this is one way of looking at by guna, how the four classes are divided, right? And then another thing is about guna karma, we said, right? Karma, activities. What kind of occupational duties we are doing based on that also. Brahmanas traditionally, they learn from scriptures and they share the scriptures. They worship the deities and they teach others how to worship. Like these duties, then they accept charity and then they give charity. Like that, there are lots of duties are described in Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto. There's a whole section of Varnashram that Narada teaches Yudhishthira Maharaj. So like that, based on each Varna, there are different activities also that are given in the scriptures. It is meant to be based on that, it describes. So now, next aspect is, third aspect we'll talk about. Remember the acronym EARS. E is eternal education we covered now. And we covered about accurate understanding. Now we're going to R, removing reactions. How cultivating transcendental knowledge clears our reactions, our karmic balances, karmic bank balance that we have. So normally, this is a simple understanding we all know from the foundation of the Krishna consciousness. I believe even Gopal Hari Prabhu covered about karma also in the last chapter, third chapter. I'll briefly mention it. So basically, not only we want to get rid of bad karma, but good karma is also not helpful. Because there is bad karma, if we get a bad karma, we need to suffer for that in the material world. If we get good karma, we need to enjoy for that in the material world. That means we need to take birth for either of those scenarios in the material world. But our goal is permanent happiness, eternal happiness in the service of Krishna and the spiritual world. So good karma is also binding for us. So now, so Krishna discussed in this section from 16 to 24 about the principle of akarma, which we hear regularly. Akarma word itself means many things, but one main way to understand akarma is that how when we perform anything to please Krishna, which is the principle of bhakti, when you perform anything for pleasing Krishna, then we don't accumulate any good karma or bad karma because of that activity, number one. And it also burns away the previous good and bad karmas also. So that is the beauty of performing devotion service in knowledge to please Krishna. When we performing anything for Krishna, then that is called akarma, that has this benefit. So that is helping us to zero the bank balance, so we can go back to spiritual world. So how do we do this thing? That is the art that our Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters and mentors are helping us with. So we need to accept a mentor and spiritual master, so they can guide us step by step to understand this transcendental knowledge, and then to understand how to perform different activities with a proper knowledge and with a mood of pleasing Krishna. Of course, it doesn't start day one. I'm not there yet, but with the guidance, I'm learning step by step how to do this for pleasing Krishna, how to do this for pleasing Krishna. Like that, we can go step by step and learn, and we can also perform akarma. That way, beauty of the devotion service is not only pleasing later on when we go to spiritual world, not only we are happy later on when we go to spiritual world, but by understanding this transcendental knowledge under the guidance of a spiritual master, we can be happy here also, because this knowledge helps us to cut away all kinds of doubts we have, confusion we have, and helps us to give a big picture of life, so that we know what is our goal of life and what is the right thing to do, what is the wrong thing to do. So all decisions we can do in our life based on the right understanding to progress towards the proper goal we have. So that's the beauty of transcendental knowledge. So basically this section is talking about it removes all reactions when we do akarma by working for pleasing Krishna. So the fourth aspect, EARS, eternal education we covered, accurate understanding we covered, removing reactions. Now sacrifice. This is another big topic in this chapter, but I will mention simply because we have very little time. So sacrifice, actually this is very important principle for us. Basically, to understand, to acquire the transcendental knowledge, to understand the transcendental knowledge, it's important for us to become the right receptacle to receive the transcendental knowledge. It's not just enough we go to the right parampara, right guru to hear from, right scripture to hear from, read from. That's not just enough. From our side also, we should be proper recipient. That is enabled by sacrifice, because unlike material knowledge, which is dependent upon our caliber, spiritual knowledge depends upon our character. So when our character is nice, then we can approach a spiritual master nicely and then learn from them properly. So there are several sacrifices mentioned by Krishna in this section. Some of them I'll briefly mention. One of them is about charity. For example, giving your money for spreading Krishna consciousness, like for building a temple, for book distribution, or for a sannyasi to preach Krishna consciousness, like that. So that is a charity. That is one kind of sacrifice we can do. It's called Dravya Yagna. And then Tapo Yagna, austerities. The Prabhupada used to stress for us that austerity in Krishna consciousness is simple. We chant the holy name, every day is fixed number of rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles, follow the instructions of a spiritual master, and fast on some auspicious appearance days of the Lord and appearance days of our saintly personalities like our acharyas. Like simple austerities we can perform. Or getting up, sometimes Prabhupada used to say, get up in the morning, attend Mangalarti, chant the holy name, hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day, like that also. That's the austerity. That's another nice sacrifice. So the big sacrifice Krishna focuses in this section is the famous verse again. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam dhaninas tattvadashnaha. So again, each of these things we can discuss for a long time. I'm already running out of time, so I'm mentioning few things only, but I'm happy to clarify anything that is not clear. So I'll mention a little bit. So in this section, Krishna, one of the biggest sacrifices we can do is leave our false pride and false ego. And with a humble mood, we approach a spiritual master who has already seen this, who is already above us, who has already realized Krishna, who has already realized Krishna consciousness. So we approach in a humble mode. That is one. Then we inquire submissively, not in a challenging spirit. We are encouraged to ask questions, but ask questions that are helpful for our spiritual growth, not just for technical differences. Of course, for some devotees, that's also important to understand technicalities. But more important, is this answer to his question will be help me to grow in Krishna consciousness or not? That's what we need to see. Then another aspect, approach in a humble mode, inquire submissively, and serve the spiritual master. This is the most important component, because when we serve the spiritual master, then only even the knowledge that is given, we'll be able to receive it and we'll be able to realize it. So in fact, the service that we do for Vaishnavas or at the temple or to the spiritual master, all these are helping us to realize the knowledge that we are receiving. Otherwise, it will not become realized knowledge. It will just become a scholarly knowledge. So to summarize, sacrifice is helping us to develop character that's helpful to receive the transcendental knowledge and to imbibe the transcendental knowledge. So that is a last section for this section. So I was hoping I'll take a couple of more minutes before we ask others to share anything that I might have misspoke by mistake with my limited understanding, or anything you would like to add that will complement the topic for better understanding for other devotees. So I'll mention one more thing in terms of the practical application. Now we heard about, by understanding transcendental knowledge, by gaining transcendental knowledge, we can conquer the lust and we can work with devotion for Krishna. That will help us to reach our goal of performing pure devotion service in spiritual world. Like that we heard, right? And then we heard sacrifice is important. And one of the important sacrifices I forgot to mention is Swadhyaya. That means reading scriptures regularly. So I know many of you already are advanced in this Krishna consciousness mostly, but in case anyone is there in the audience, I want to cover all aspects, few of the aspects. One is, it's important to have a regular association for us from devotees. That can be either daily association, if that is not possible for some reason, weekly association. That's the most important thing for us to grow in spiritual life. So, for example, in Naperville, there is a Srimad Bhagavatam classes are being given by nice devotees. So you can daily take association of hearing from Vaishnavas, hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is not different from Krishna itself. That is one association of devotees. And then try to aspire for a spiritual master if you do not have one yet. And also learn from Srila Prabhupada if you do not have one spiritual master yet. And then if you have a spiritual master, develop your relationship with spiritual master, hear from them, learn from them, inquire from them submissively, and serve them. And service to spiritual master includes not only serving him physically, it also includes serving his mission. And what is spiritual master mission? Spiritual master mission is Krishna's mission, which is to spread Krishna consciousness. So that includes helping others with whatever we understood, whatever we realized a little bit. And then that can be sharing a book with them, or telling something that we learned, or telling them about chanting, telling them about here is a temple, please come there, or helping them to do the sacrifice of charity, whatever way we can serve, or going to temple and serving in the temple in whatever way is needed. Like that, that's another aspect we can think about. And then another aspect is about regularly reading scriptures. We should have a goal to read every day. Even people, we all aim for large, bigger things, but instead of bigger thing, we should aim for small increments of progress. Meaning, if I'm not used to reading at all scriptures at all, then my aim can be I'll read one Bhagavad Gita verse translation and purport every day. I can start there and slowly grow there. That's a good thing to do. And then every day we're chanting, and chanting and transcendental knowledge go very well together. In fact, many things in Krishna consciousness go complement each other very nicely. For example, if you have the transcendental knowledge, remember we talked about Sambandha Gnana, that will become fortified, and our faith in Krishna becomes increased, and our faith in chanting increases, our faith in hearing increases. Then when I'm chanting with understanding of my relationship with Krishna, I'm praying to serve Krishna. Because through scriptures, I'm understanding how Krishna is so nice. So he's doing so much for me. So then when I'm chanting, I'm praying sincerely. Krishna, please bless me so I can serve you nicely. Like that, we are in that mood of chanting also like that. And then reciprocally, when we chant nicely, attentively, regularly, every day, fixed number of rounds, then that helps us to understand the transcendental knowledge nicely also. So these are few things I want to share. There are lots of things we can discuss on this topic. I'm sure other devotees will enlighten some more topics. We can hear from them also. If anyone would like to add anything to this topic, or if there are any corrections, also please feel free to share. And if there are any questions in what I spoke, something is not clear, also kindly ask. Thank you for this opportunity. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Amrita Kelidati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
It's so nice to hear from you. It's a very beautiful way of presenting this chapter. And I'm so happy to hear from you after a long time.
Thank you, Mataji.
Many things, Prabhu, but particularly one thing which was really touching to my heart as you were explaining about this knowledge of Krishna, how it can internally motivate us. It's not just the external motivation, which may stay for some time and then may go. But when we have that attraction, it just gives that internal motivation. That was very, very touching to the heart. And you also very nicely explained. I was going to ask that question. So when we don't have that much attraction and don't have that internal motivation, what to do? You also nicely explained. We hear from the devotees and read from these wonderful books to know more understanding of Krishna, which can lead to more attraction. That was my highlight for today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji, for sharing the highlights. Because when you share some highlights like that, it helps all of us, including me. So we'll remember that point more, and then we can tend to apply it again. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice class. Very nice insight. Years. Eternal education. Accuracy, accurate. Removing reaction. Karma, you covered it very nicely. Sacrifices, years. 4 points. Yeah, very nice.
Thank you, bro.
The conviction you have is coming in the class. Very nice.
Of devotees, bro. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else devotees?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, bro.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. Nice to hear from you after a very long time, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Nice to hear you, bro. Radhakunj Vihar, bro. Go ahead, bro.
And nicely presented, nicely summarized actually. One thing that stuck to me was, when you said austerities are done so that it can shape the, personality. That is something which I had not realized. That's such a nice this thing, Prabhuji. Thank you for bringing that perspective to, that's all, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, bro.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Sanjay Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very nice summary. And especially the years helps to remember it for longer time, otherwise it just goes away. My question was like, I understand that sacrifice does help us to come in that mode of goodness, because of regulations and everything. Does it also changes our psychophysical nature if the nature is more in a mode of passion or ignorance? Does it also helps us to change that nature, which is very deep rooted?
Absolutely, bro. Yeah. First of all, that's one important thing for us to understand. Many of us think that my nature is like this, I will not change. That's not true at all. Because if that is the case, we will not have scriptures to learn from and change anything, learn anything and improve everything. So our psychophysical nature can change. That is the first aspect. Now, your question is specifically about sacrifice. Sacrifice is not only helping us to get to mode of goodness, it's also getting us to transcendence. For example, one of the sacrifices I talked about, of course, it also depends on the mood of the, consciousness of the person who's doing sacrifice, right? Like, for example, charity, we hear about charity in ignorance, charity in passion, charity in goodness, and there's a transcendental charity. So as practicing devotees, we try to do the transcendental charity. What is transcendental charity? I would expect that I'll get somebody will recognize me for this charity. I do the charity with understanding that this is for pleasing Krishna. For example, we do it for a right purpose. That means we do give charity to, for example, for spreading Krishna consciousness in different ways. For example, like that I was telling in the class, right? So that one. So when we're doing it for with that intention that I want to please Krishna with this, Krishna likes us to grow closer to him. And this charity will enable me to go closer to him like that and enable so many devotees to get closer to him. And in fact, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam, 7th canto, when Prabhupada, Prahlad Maharaj's verse is there, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Sparanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivadhanam. So we're acting in Sakya with Krishna, like that is described. I'm not trying to make it a esoteric topic, but that's what Prabhupada writes in the purport. We are taking the mission of Krishna in our hands. We're also trying to assist Krishna. Let us say we're giving book distribution, we're giving a book to somebody. Then we're helping Krishna in his mission. That's a transcendental mission, like that, transcendental charity. Like that, when we're doing Swadhyaya, I mentioned, reading scriptures, that's not helping us to get to mode of goodness, but it's getting transcendence directly. It's helping us develop faith in Bhakti, faith in Krishna, faith in the process of, faith in the Guru, faith in the different process of helping us to understand Sambandha Gnana, so many things at the transcendental level. So definitely our nature also can change by doing some of the sacrifices in the right consciousness with the guidance of a spiritual master and mentor, because they can guide us how to do that in transcendence, any activity, and how to do it in the right consciousness also. They can help us, Prabhu. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome, Prabhu. Any other comments or questions? It's a very big topic. I try to touch on few aspects. Actually, if you read the purports, it's amazing. Lots of other points are there. If anybody wants to add something also, feel free to add.
Let me check online, Prabhu. Anybody from YouTube?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't see any questions or comments on YouTube. Any questions on Zoom call, Mataji, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I don't have any questions, but very nice to see you here in the Naperville Sunday feast.
Yeah, nice to hear you, Pratibha, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I'm also happy to be connected to Naperville somehow or other again. Yes.
Yeah, I hope you keep coming.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Okay.
Just give it another minute, Prabhu. Sometimes people are.
Sure. Yeah, you can reflect on what you got from this today's session also. So that way it will help other devotees also to remember. What we used to do is when we hear, each person shares each person shares one point, then everybody recollects the whole class into that time, that way.
Maybe I can ask. Can you please touch on? You already touched it. The word Tat Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Shevaya. Could you elaborate for my Manda Buddhi? So if you can explain a little bit more, Prabhu, your realizations.
On
that
that
will be
verse?
really helpful for me.
Sure, definitely.
Because most of the times we may not have association of our seniors or spiritual master. I know we just need to hear from them through lectures. But what is that significance of Pranipata, Sadvidhi, Pariprashna? So those words are very critical to understand. If you can touch that, would be great.
Okay. All three aspects, or any particular aspect you're interested in?
Pariprashna.
Pariprashna. Okay, inquiry. Okay, good. Okay. So inquiring, importance of inquiry, right? Importance of inquiry, like we are normally see. I have this common experience. I'm hoping many of you have the same experience. Let us say I'm looking for shoes right now. My shoes, I need to buy new shoes. Then when I'm going on the road, I will spot some shoe stores that I never saw before. So why is that happening? Because I have a question in mind. I want to get shoes. So the answer is appearing before us like that. That's one aspect, the importance of questions. And then the questions should be right questions for us. That means, how do we get the right questions? Then when we associate with devotees and hear regularly, then we get their desires and we get the questions. The questions can be like, first of all, what is the goal of life? And then how do we get there? Is there a plan for that? And then where am I right now? And then what is stopping me to go to the next step? And what is my next step? So if you think in this lines, we'll have lots of questions. Then we can connect so many things in spiritual life. Now we talked about importance of questions and what are the types of questions we can come up with, all related to the goal of life with the focus. Now, so many things we do, right? So now everybody is clear that we have a goal of life. Now we need to do certain things to get there. But so many distractions are there in the world. So now how do I harmonize them along with my goal? How do I take care of family? Is family taking care of family is Krishna conscious or not Krishna conscious? How can it be Krishna conscious? What do you need to do to make it Krishna conscious? Is working is Krishna conscious or is it material? How do you make it Krishna conscious? Is playing with my son Krishna conscious or is it material? How do you make that Krishna conscious? That if you think like that, we'll get all sorts of questions for our growth. Now, when we have these questions, this inquiry mood, then when we read scriptures or when we hear from spiritual master, then it will satisfy and will stick to our heart. But if I don't have any questions, I'm just listening without contemplating and working on them myself, then it will not go so deeply. But when I'm struggling with my questions, then it will go deeply when I get the answer right, like that. So in fact, this is one of the things teachers do. Teachers make the students struggle a little bit to get the answer. Then they'll share some clue so that they get answer. Now the student will remember that properly. So that's another aspect. Now, Pranipatena, Tadis Pranipatena, Pariprashnena Seva. That's what Prabhu was asking. Then asking the Guru, why it is very important to ask Guru? Because we can ask many different people different things, and they can answer only at their level. For example, you ask me a question, I can only answer to my consciousness. Whatever level of consciousness I have, only I can answer. But if you ask the spiritual master, he's already self-realized. So then he's at that level. So then he can answer from that level. That is one point. Now, this is not undermining the need to ask questions to little bit senior devotees. This is not undermining the asking questions to the mentor. No, because those are also very, very important for us, because we cannot ask spiritual master every time, like Prabhu was describing. So our mentors are the ones who are guiding us regularly. So like that, and also association of devotees like that, it is also helpful. But because spiritual master is realized, when there are multiple benefits of asking questions to spiritual master. But before that, how do we ask the spiritual master question? That humble inquiry is said, right? That means we should ask spiritual master not to challenge or not to test him. Does he know this? Does he not know this? No, that's not the intention. Our intention is to know. He knows more than me. We should have the understanding clearly. He knows definitely more than me. So now I just need to understand from him so that my life will become successful. In that mode, we go before him. Now, when we inquire from him, two things are happening. Usually, spiritual master doesn't answer our question only, like what is 1 + 1 equals. We ask spiritual master, he doesn't say 2. He not only answers the 2, but he also answers the point in terms of our consciousness. Why am I asking 1 + 1 right now? So he also sees the consciousness behind it. Where am I at currently? And then accordingly, he guides me with the answer at that level, so that I can go to the next level and continue in my devotion service. That's the other reason we ask questions to spiritual master. So this is a very wonderful topic, lots of things, humble inquiry. But these are few things I was thinking about that is important to ask spiritual master questions. And then one of the ways to, like I said, right, when you have the questions in mind, when we're hearing our spiritual master classes also, then it get clarified also. So that's also for asking spiritual master only, also like that. And then when the spiritual master is not nearby, we should have established one mentor relationship for each of us. So that way we're comfortable to share anything and everything, like we hear from Nectar of Instruction, right? Upadeshamrita. Dadati pratignati guhyamakyati prichati. Guhyamakyati prichati. That's very important in our life, especially with a pure devotee, but then with a mentor also. So we share them confidentially what we are going through, and we inquire submissively also from them. That way we tell them, I'm struggling, I'm trying to chant my holy name, but then it's so hard for me to finish my rounds. Can you help me? What can I do? Then we can ask them directly, and then they'll tell us, oh, I tried this before. Can you try? Like that, they will guide us. So we can use that like that. So it's better to go before spiritual master and mentor instead of hiding or keeping everything to ourselves only. Yeah. Those are few thoughts, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's very good realizations and sharing. Really appreciate.
Welcome, Prabhu.
Okay, we are on top of the hour, almost a minute left. Any other devotees have comments, questions to Prabhu? Okay. Prabhuji, thank you so much for your time and wonderful talk by you. We really appreciate on behalf of our congregation, Naperville, and on behalf of our temple president, Sundarananda Mataji. We would like you to visit sometime as we are building a new temple too. So I know Baltimore has already a brand new big temple. You can visit too. And we would like you to move here if possible.
Just mentioning whatever he wants. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you, yeah, thank you, devotees, for your association also. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Vancha Kalpatarvasya, Upasandu Bevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namaha.
Sundarananda Prabhuji ki jai ho.
Sri Prabhupada
Hare
ki
Krishna.
jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Everybody please unmute and say Hare Krishna to Prabhu because he is our old friend here. To everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu, Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Wonderful.